The auction house smelled like lemon polish and old money. Lot 114, $43. That's what the roll-top desk was worth on paper. Chipped, water-stained, shoved to the back corner like garbage nobody wanted. Daniel Cross stood in a coat that didn't fit right, boots that had walked more miles than they should have, holding his daughter's hand. Ellie held her rabbit. She always held her rabbit. Its name was Mr. Whiskers, and its left ear had been chewed to threads years ago and never fixed. The auctioneer looked at Daniel once. He didn't look twice. "Sir, this isn't a thrift store," he said, and the room laughed. Daniel said nothing. He just raised his paddle. What happened next wasn't supposed to happen. Not in this room. Not to this man. Not today. Stay with this one until the end. Reginald Vance ran the auction like a man who owned the air in the room. Silver hair, sharper tongue. He had 2 witnesses on his side without even trying. The room agreed with him before he opened his mouth. When Daniel raised his paddle for Lot 114, Vance smiled the way men smile right before they humiliate someone in public. $50, Vance said, for a man who clearly needs it more than the desk does. Laughter. A woman in the second row didn't laugh. She watched Daniel's hands instead. Daniel didn't flinch. He folded his own auction catalog in half, slow, deliberate, and set it on his knee. He didn't defend himself. He didn't need to. Ellie tucked her face against Mr. Whiskers and watched her father the way children watch fathers when they're deciding what kind of man to become. Daniel raised the paddle again. $60. Vance's smile thinned by exactly 1 degree. The gavel didn't fall yet. Daniel stood, walked to the registration table, and said 4 words to the clerk. Then he sat back down, quiet, waiting. His wife had been gone 3 years. Not enough time to stop reaching for her side of the bed. Not enough money left over, most months, to do anything but reach. He worked days at a hardware store now. Nights, sometimes, he still touched wood the old way, hands remembering a trade nobody paid for anymore. An old friend, Walt, leaned toward him in the 3rd row. "You sure about this, Danny?" Walt asked. Daniel didn't answer directly. "I know what that desk is," he said. "Not a guess, not a hope, a fact, quiet and closed like a fist." That night, before the auction, Ellie had asked him to fix Mr. Whiskers' ear. He'd said he would. Not tonight, soon. He tucked the rabbit into her backpack himself, careful, the way he handled things that mattered. "Watch, baby," he told her that morning. "Daddy's going to show you something." She hadn't understood. She would. The bidding climbed, 70, 80. Vance kept steering the room, kept needling Daniel with a comment here, a raised eyebrow there. Daniel watched the desk instead of the crowd. He'd noticed something the moment he walked in. A maker's mark, half sanded off the underside of the top drawer, deliberately obscured, not damage, not age, erased. His pulse didn't change. His face didn't change. He simply stood, walked to the desk under the pretense of inspecting the lot before final bid, and ran his thumb along the seam where the drawer met the frame. There, a false bottom, a hairline gap no auction house employee should have missed, unless someone wanted it missed. $90, Vance called, rushing now. Gavel lifted early, going once. "Wait," Daniel said. Not loud, not a shout, just 1 word, and the room went still around it, the way rooms go still around men who don't usually ask for anything. He reached into the false bottom and drew out a folded, yellowed envelope. Paper, not plastic, real, old. The room leaned forward as one body, not to see him fail, but to see what he'd found. The envelope held a letter dated 1962, signed by the auction house's own founder, describing the desk as a personal gift, never meant for sale, never meant to leave the family that built this business. Below the signature, a second name, Vance's grandfather. Walt, 3 rows back, said the only sentence he needed to say. I told you he still remembered how to read old wood. Vance's face didn't hold its shape anymore. This proves nothing, he said, but his voice had lost its floor. It proves you sanded a name off a drawer, Daniel said, so nobody would ask why a founder's private desk ended up in a public lot. A woman rose from the second row, not a bidder, the house's owner. Her name was Renata Kessler, and she'd been watching the whole thing from the back since lot 109. She walked forward, took the letter, read it twice. Then she looked at Vance. "You've been undervaluing estate pieces for months," she said. Not a question. A closed fist of a sentence, same as Daniel's. "I want the full inventory audit by morning." Vance opened his mouth. Nothing useful came out. 2 staff members walked him toward the door. Nobody laughed this time. Renata didn't return to the podium. She crossed the room instead, past the bidders, past the paddles still raised out of habit, and crouched, actually crouched, knees to the marble floor, silk dress and all, until she was eye level with a 6-year-old girl and a rabbit with one ruined ear. "What's his name?" she asked, nodding at Mr. Whiskers. "Mr. Whiskers," Ellie said. "His ear's broken. Daddy's gonna fix it." Renata smiled, the kind of smile that isn't for cameras. "Your dad fixes a lot of things, doesn't he?" Ellie nodded, solemn, the way only children can be solemn. Then she said the thing that made the room go quiet again, quieter than the letter had. "Daddy says broken things just need somebody who stays." Renata didn't answer right away. She just nodded, once, and stood back up. She turned to Daniel. "I don't sell that desk today," she said. "I want to talk to you about restoration work. Real work, paid properly." Daniel looked at the desk, then at his daughter, then back at Renata. "I'll think about it," he said. Not yes, not no. Just a man who'd learned not to trust good news too fast. The auction resumed behind him, voices rising again, paddles lifting for the next lot. Daniel knelt down, zipped Ellie's backpack shut around Mr. Whiskers, and lifted her onto his shoulders the way he did every Saturday, like nothing unusual had happened at all. He walked toward the doors as the next bid was called out behind him, her small hands gripping his hair for balance, the rabbit's chewed ear bumping against his collar with every step.